الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجن من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات.
Thank you, Muhammad Hussein. For sure, better than your dad's voice. That much I know. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You know, as I like to invite those of you who are on the back to move forward, more people are going to come as our guest speaker is going to arrive, inshallah, shortly. Then we can save the back seats for the ladies that they are with kids, like the one that we already can hear him or him, right? And so they have more space that in case that they decided to have more space in the back seats, so we are contributing more space to them. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إلهي وقف السائلون ببابك ولاذ الفقراء بجنابك ووقفت سفينة المساكين على ساحل بحر جودك وكرمك ونحن عبيدك المذنبون اللهم ارحمنا برحمتك واعتقنا من النار بعفوك واغفر لنا ذنوبنا برحمتك يا غفار الذنوب ويا ستار العيوب يا غفور يا رحيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So inshallah tonight we are going to have a good program, a long program of this night of power. In some minutes we start the official lecture with our guest speaker, and after that around 11 o'clock we go to the masjid to start Dua al-Mushaf, followed with Dua Makarim al-Akhlaq, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, Dua al-Joshan. Then we may have a break for suhoor, and we have inshallah a wonderful suhoor. We have a wonderful person, Dr. Abdullah Khalil, who has dedicated this suhoor to the soul of his mom, and we have some other people who donated for tonight, for Ramadan, and especially for Night of Power, that we are going to mention their name during the service this evening, inshallah. And after the suhoor, we may go back to the masjid for those of you who are able to stay longer to recite Abu Hamza Thamali and recitation of the Quran and some other ad'iyah. So even if you are able to stay till Fajr, you are welcome. There are some brothers that they are starting i'tikaf from tonight. That means they are going to stay in the masjid for the next 2-3 days and not to leave the masjid except for emergency if they had to, but otherwise they stay in the masjid. So now the question is, why tonight is night of power? Laylatul Qadr. Qadr means power. Qadr also means value. Qadr also means taqdeer, like determination, destination. So if somebody asks why we call this night of power tonight, well, the Quran calls it Layla Mubarakah, a blessing night. And because this night is the heart of the whole month of Ramadan. I mean, Ramadan is Afdal al-Shuhur, right? And Nabi alayhi salam called month of Ramadan Afdal al-Shuhur 'inda Allah, the best month of the year. And now during this month, Laylatul Qadr is the best night of the month of Ramadan. Is the heart of this month, Qalbu Shahr Ramadan. This is the night that تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها, subhanallah, the angels, and especially Ruh al-Amin, Jibreel, they are landing on this earth this evening. You can see how powerful. We have this huge guest, powerful guest, the angels. They are coming to the earth tonight. And Laylatul Qadr, Laylatul Salam, Salam hatta matla al-Fajr. So the night of peace, night of power, night of angel, night of Jibreel, and all of this make this night al-Qadr powerful. It is powerful because of this book. This book is powerful. Why it is powerful? Because the message in this book is a mighty message. It's a very powerful message. It is night of power because the one who sent this message is powerful. Allah is the sender of this book. It is powerful because the translators, the carriers of this message, the angels, especially Jibreel, they are powerful. They are the mailman. They brought this mail, this message from heaven to earth. They are powerful. It is powerful because the prophet who received this book is a powerful prophet. And it is powerful because the ummah who are the target of this message supposed to be powerful. So Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, it is night of power because the power of the Quran, the power of the sender of the Quran, the power of receiver of the Quran, the power of the carriers of the Quran, and the power of the audience of this Quran. For all of this reason, this is a powerful night. لو أنزلنا هذا القرآن على جبل لرأيته خاشعا متصدعا من خشية الله. Allah saying that this book is so powerful that if the energy, that the spiritual energy of this book turned to a physical energy, and that energy was sent to the mountain cracked, the mountain broken, the mountain crashed, the mountain turned to dust. That's how powerful. The mountain get humble and broken if this book was revealed to them. So how hard human being to receive this energy and not to be shaken, not to be wake up. That is something that we have to discuss. So tonight, brothers and sisters, number one, let us turn this time to a thanking time. Thanksgiving. This night of power should be a thanksgiving night. That we give thanks to Allah for giving us this opportunity to be here again. I mean, all of these things even happen to this country. Forget about now what happened in like other countries of war and terrorism and violence and destruction and all of this. But here every day you hear about flood, you hear about storm, you hear about mass shooting, you hear about all of this destruction. Amazing. I mean, you see in Florida this happened, in California that happened, in this state, that state. And we are blessed that enjoying this peacefulness of this night, that we don't have flood, we don't have a storm, we don't have earthquake. You just heard just a month ago, a couple of months ago, all this earthquake in Syria, in Turkey. I mean, to have the advantage of being here, and all the masajid in Dearborn, you know, we in Dearborn kind of spoiled of, you know, it takes you 5 minutes to go to any masjid you like, any center that you like. And not only the masajid, many other places tonight are full of people who are coming to celebrate Laylatul Qadr, night of power. So Allah gave us this powerful night, the powerful book, powerful message, and a peaceful time. So we have to take advantage. I know that many of you might be tired, working. Tomorrow you have to work. Tomorrow is Friday. But then if you can do this, قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, if you can stay up as much as you can and spend your time in tahajjud and nawafil and al-jawshan, and think about this dua al-jawshan. You know, 1,000 names of God. That, oh God, you are Rahim, and you are Ghafoor, and you are Samir, and you are Basir, and you are Wadud, and you are Majid, and you are Ghaffar al-Dhunub, and you are Sattar al-Uyub. Can we apply some of these divine characteristics in our own life? If God is Rahim, let us learn from God in night of power to become Rahim, become Rahama. If God is Ghafoor, let us be forgiving to one another. Forgive one another. Forgive our parents, our children, our neighbors, our family members, our friends. Practice this quality of forgiveness as we expect Allah to forgive us, and be Ghafoor and Ghaffar. So when you mention this 1,000 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then tell yourself, yes, kun rahiman, kun ghafuran, kun sami'an, kun hakiman, kun wadudan, kun saburan. How much God is patient. So learn from God to be patient. Kun muhsinan. Allah yuhibbul muhsinin, that be kind, be loving, be merciful, be generous, be caring, be responsible. So these are the things that on night of power you have this gift. Turn this opportunity to something useful. Laylatul Qadr, turn to Laylatul Tawbah, returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Laylatul Yaqdha, it's a wake-up call, awareness, standing up. Laylatul Ma'rifah, a night of understanding. Laylatul Shifa, a night of healing. Laylatul Sharaf, a night of dignity, integrity, and respect. Laylatul Rahmah, Laylatul Maghfirah. Laylatul Taqarrub ila Allah, it's a night of getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So brothers and sisters, do your best not to miss the blessing and rewards of this night. Because the hadith from Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Man qama laylatal qadri imanan wa ihtisaban ghafara lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbih. If you can honor this night. And if you stay up this night faithfully and carefully, with sincerity, from your heart, and you do really what this night of power is about, if you appreciate this opportunity, if you turn the night of power to night of enlightenment, awakening, spirituality, love, connection, sympathy, unity, humility, that all the mistakes that we made in the past are going to be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that we did wrong in our relationship with God, He said He is going to forgive. Of course, if you hurt someone, still haqqul nas is different. We have to go and repair the things that we did wrong to other people. Still, we should ask for forgiveness and fix our relationship with people. But anything that we did wrong in our relationship with God is going to be forgiven if we do night of power imanan wa ihtisaban, faithfully and wisely, with real calculation. So this gives us a real hope that Allah is saying that tonight is night of hope, night of healing, night of loving, night of connection, night of forgiveness. La taqnatu min rahmatillah. Allah is making this statement that I know you hurt yourself. I know you hurt your soul. I know you made so many mistakes. But I'm telling you, La taqnatu min rahmatillah. Don't lose your hope in rahmat, in mercy and compassion of your Creator. And then he said, Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunuba jami'a. Subhanallah. Strong resolution. Strong statement. يغفر الذنوب جميعا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Because He is merciful, because He is forgiving. Because of that, يغفر الذنوب جميعا. I don't understand when He says جميعا. Really, it means جميعا. It means all of your sins are forgiven. If you don't lose your hope in your Lord. But we have to use this opportunity and make the night of power also night of reflection. You remember I talked about journey of Ramadan. Some of you were here. And I said this is journey of taking 29 to 30 days. And we said the destination of this journey. Where is the end of this journey? Ramadan is a journey to Jannah, right? And then we discussed the purpose. We said the condition to get to Jannah is obvious. The Quran says it. 2 words. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. That was the purpose of Siyam, right? Why we are fasting for 1 month? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. 2 words. That you receive piety, self-control, purification. But the night of power is the night of both education, that this book was revealed. What was the first word in the Quran? What was the first order of the Quran? What was the first commandment of the Quran? Any answer? Did God say u'bud? Was that the first order? Did God say kul washrib, what was the first order in the Quran? The first word. The first ever word in the Quran was Iqra, mashallah. Read. That means tonight is night of education too. Because the same Quran that says لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, the same Quran says لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُوقِنُونَ, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. Right? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَذَكَّرُونَ, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ. So if you get لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, if you have piety, then تتفكروا, then you have reflection, then تعقلون, reasoning, then توقنون, the position of certainty in your soul, and finally تفلحون. And that is what Imam Ali was about. What was the first word after he was targeted by the most evil terrorist of human history? The first word that Imam Ali said was فزت ورب الكعبة. That even his martyrdom is a point of al-falah, al-fawz, al-sa'ada, al-surur, al-tawfiq, victory, winning, success, achievement. He got it from the Quran. So tonight is, brothers and sisters, also Laylatul Falah, because you are doing so much prayer. What do we say in the adhan? Hayya ala salah, and then we say Hayya ala falah, right? Hayya ala falah means competition for salvation, competition for success, competition for winning, competition for victory. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So I hope that we are ready to take advantage of this beautiful night, the night of Qadr, the night of power, the night of value, the night of determination and destination, the night of dua and prayer, and the night of peace. If you have as-salam, peace, then you have power. You know, a lot of time we hear from our politicians that in order to have peace and security, we have to be powerful. How many times you heard that if we have a military might, if we have power, then we can have peace? But the Quran in this verse, Laylatul Qadr, the Quran says opposite. We have Al-Qadr, As-Salam in the same chapter, right? The Quran says, if you have peace, you have power. Not opposite. Because a lot of people, they have power, they don't have peace. But if you are really a person of peace, you are a person of power. So let us make our night of power, night of peace, night of prayer, and night of power. But that starts with education. The Quran starts from Iqra. This is why we start the service and ceremony of Laylatul Qadr with some education after listening to the lecture of our respectful guest, that we welcome him with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Fill the gaps, please. More brothers, more. The sisters as well, if you could fill the gaps, please. The sisters there, if you can also move forward, please. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الكريم: وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إكراه في الدين. So when you're gathering with remembrance of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. As a gift to the soul of Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina wa Azimina Rasulullah, recite the second salawat. For Allah to hasten the reappearance of Sayyidina wa Mawlana Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, and to shower onto every one of you with His mercy and compassion, recite the third salawat with the loudest of your voices. On September 16th, 2022, the death of a young lady in Iran created uproar around the world. The death of Mahsa Amini became headlines in every newspaper. Within a matter of days, the streets of Iran also erupted in protest because this young lady was stopped by the morality police and questioned about her hijab. Then she was taken to court. And her death began a movement of individuals who voice their opinions against morality police, against forcing people into practicing faith and the tenets of faith. And soon this became a conversation, and it continues to be an ongoing conversation. That does Islam stand with freedom? Does Islam offer freedom to individuals? Is it a religion that recognizes freedom, personal freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech? Or no? Islam is a religion that requires you to follow its laws and regulations. And if you do not, then there has to be morality police that correct the bad behavior. And this is not a political question. And I'm not engaged in a political conversation tonight, but an extremely vital and important discussion. Why? Because many of us today, living in America, are approached by non-Muslims. That's why is it that hijab has to be enforced? How come people don't get to choose? If they want to wear the hijab, they wear the hijab. And if they don't want to wear the hijab, they shouldn't be forced to wear the hijab. Why is it that in some Muslim countries, in the time of prayers, they must shut down their shops and attend the prayers in the mosque? Why is it that they're not given an option to continue to do their business, and if they desire to pray, they pray? And when we are asked such questions, normally we really do not know the Islamic perspective and the perspective offered by the Quran in regards to those very important questions. Not only that, but some Muslims, especially those in high school and college, especially if they wear the hijab, are approached as well. Listen, are you forced to wear the hijab? Or are you given the freedom to not wear the hijab if you don't want to? And why is it that in your religion, women are meant to cover themselves? And we continue to have gatherings in the month of Ramadan, and today we've had 23 lectures about Islam. But such important questions, sometimes we shy away from, because they could be considered taboo subjects or difficult topics or hard pills to swallow. Because you could be walking on eggshells. As soon as we want to discuss a topic that relates to people's lives, and people read articles, they watch videos, they read headlines in the news about this phenomenon, and then they start asking questions from the religious institution, but the religious institution does not address those topics because some people may not be comfortable. Those questions remain in the minds of many individuals. And that is why after the Mahsa Amini incident, I saw many individuals that decided that we're going to take off the hijab. Why? Why are you taking off the hijab? In solidarity with what happened with Mahsa Amini. this tells you that those individuals were not really fully convinced on hijab. And now that they find a purpose which they see greater than wearing the hijab is gone. And I tell you, my dearest brothers and sisters, those institutions and this majlis and those gatherings are not like your shisha cafes. There's a difference. They're not your local restaurant. What do I mean? I mean, when you go to a shisha cafe, you order your favorite flavor, right? Say, I want grape mint, and you enjoy it. They're not going to give you something else. If you go to a restaurant and you, for example, like chicken, they're not going to bring you beef. But if you go to a hospital in an emergency room and you're an emergency doctor, you can't say, well, I'm not going to see people that have, for example, asthma or chicken pox, nor a headache. I only want to see those specific individuals. They say, well, look, this is an emergency room. People come to you because they have emergencies. And you cannot discriminate against them. You're a physician, you're a doctor, you're in charge. You got to treat them equally. Such institutions, brothers and sisters, we cannot pick and choose the topics. When you come to such institutions, you have to be ready to listen to the needs of the community. Sometimes the needs of a teenager are different than the needs of a mother. But they both have to be addressed. Someone studying the Quran and examining the Quran, their needs to be addressed. Similarly, someone who's taken now interest in the world of hadith, their needs must be addressed. Social issues. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within the Holy Quran says, وَلُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ. And from this Quran we descend onto you all sorts of cure. You all remember how we were protecting ourselves from COVID. We were not leaving our homes. If we left the home, then we made sure that we sanitize everything that we carry with us 10 times. We sanitize our hands, we wear masks. Why? Because there's a tiny little virus that might get into my body, and I'll have to end up on my back, or in a hospital, or with a minor flu. But because the possibility of danger is there, I protect myself against that danger. Islam says similarly, your society has many social illnesses. And equally in the month of Ramadan, all those social illnesses must be addressed and must be discussed. And the cure from the Quran must be given to them. And one of the most important occasions that took place in the past year, in the past few months, within the Muslim world and within the lives of many Muslims, was indeed the incident of Mahsa Amini. So how do we address this topic? How do we discuss this topic? Like I said, we're not here to discuss politics. We're here to discuss Islam. The Quran extends. And that is why I began my lecture tonight with 256 of the second chapter of the Holy Quran. Second chapter is Surah Al-Baqarah. Ayah 256 states, La ikraha fi ddin. There is no compulsion in religion. Now what does this mean? Because we hear so many people quoting this ayah. But do we really know what it means? Surah Al-Baqarah, brothers and sisters, was revealed in the holy city of Medina. You see, Muslims had a lot of difficulty in Mecca. They were isolated in Sha'b Abi Talib. People would not sell them any goods. They will not do business with them. They went through malnutrition, starvation. There was boycott, sanctions on the Muslim community, and prior to that, when Muslims traveled, they plotted against them and executed many of them. That's why some of them had to travel to Abyssinia. And some of them died under torture in the torture house created by Quraysh right next to the Kaaba in the downtown of Mecca. And amongst them were Yasir and Sumayyah, the parents of Ammar ibn Yasir. So they went through a lot of difficulty. And when they migrated, the dynamics changed. They were in the midst of Quraysh. Now they've escaped. Now they are in Medina. There's more freedom for the Muslims. But the pagan Arabs and all the other tribes decided that we're going to create a war and annihilate the Muslims in Medina. So they created an army and they came to Rasulullah in the Battle of Uhud. Badr was the very first battle. The dynamics there were different. But Uhud, all the Arab tribes decided that we're going to go to war with the Muslims. So they saw a different kind of brutality and hardship. And after the Battle of Uhud, when the Muslims were victorious, some people who were from the opposition became Muslim. So the Muslims went to them and said to them, "What kind of Muslims are you? You became Muslim just because we were victorious in that battle. If Rasulullah would have been killed, you wouldn't have become Muslim. So you are lesser Muslims." And they treated them differently. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals this ayah saying, "La ikraha fi ad-din." You don't have to force them. You don't have to make them feel they are lesser than you in Iman. Thank you. Let them be. Why? Because they were at the peak of Iman? No, some of them were not at the peak of Iman. But Allah has a different plan than me and you. When we see people coming towards Allah and maybe they're not practicing, then we put them down and we belittle them and we judge them. And we have many judges, many police, many canine units in our community ready to go after people and their reputation and judge them. But Allah says, give this person give this person some time. Maybe they'll change. Maybe when they entered Islam because Islam was more powerful. Because Islam was the popular thing. And you see this today as well. You see some people, because it does create some controversy, it does create some headlines. Oh, I've become Muslim. We can't judge them. Maybe they sincerely have become Muslim, or maybe within time they're going to be great Muslims. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them, "La ikraha fi ad-din." Don't force them. And I want to say this, after your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A lot of the knowledge is stored in here. It's now the revelations will come. Let's recite the second salawat. So today we also see a lot of people, and I want to say this very quickly, we don't have much time. We see a lot of people as well judging a lot of the converts, those who convert to the religion of Islam, that they are lesser Muslims. But the difference is that they found Islam. They went through trouble because of that. They studied Islam. They convinced themselves that Islam is the best way of life. What makes me, as a person who was born in Islam, put myself above them? What trouble did I go through? Many of the Muslims, if you ask them, you say, have you read the entire Quran cover to cover? But a person who's converted to Islam has read the Quran cover to cover many times. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if they are not practicing, when they convert, or they're making mistakes, or they have some pronunciation issues, it's okay. La ikraha fi din. Relax. But similarly, so that's number one. Imagine this group was part of the society now. Those who converted to Islam after the battle of Uhud. The second group of individuals were individuals who, in the Arabian Peninsula, there was a custom. And I want to talk to you about this custom. That a woman who had one child, and this child became a teenager, had one child that's a boy, and this child became a teenager, if she did not have another son, by then it was disgraceful. So what she did was she vowed to God that she's going to allow this son to become a Christian or a Jew. They were pagans. They were idol worshippers. But then they dedicated that son to become a monotheist. Which is very interesting. That even the pagan Arabs then kind of knew that, look, this doesn't really make sense. I mean, God, the creator of this universe, can't be this idol. And Abu Dhar al-Ghifari, that's exactly how he converted. There was a fox that came into his home, and he woke up and he saw the fox urinating on the idol. So he just kept watching, like, what kind of God is this? This animal is literally urinating on the God, and he can't protect itself. So he got up and he said, listen, I can't be worshiping this God that can't even protect itself against an animal that's urinating on it. And he began to ask questions. And his questions led him to Islam. So those individuals that were Jews and Christians at the time living in Medina were forced by some of the Muslims that, listen, you have to become Muslim. You can't remain a Jew. You can't remain a Christian. You have to become a Muslim. So they came to the Prophet, the Jews and the Christians, those who their parents were pagan and now they have become Muslim. They are Christians and Jews. They came to Rasulullah. Oh Muhammad, you're a prophet of God. You're speaking of the oneness of God. We want to ask you a question. Do we have to convert to Islam? And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam receives a revelation, La ikraha fi din. No compulsion in religion. You cannot force them to become Muslim. That's number two. So this is the second group of people. We're talking about a society that Rasulullah created. Group number three were individuals who came to Rasulullah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, my son is a pagan. He's still worshipping the idol. I am against that. So I stopped giving him money. I stopped feeding him. I stopped taking care of him. And I've made his life difficult financially because he's a dependent on me. I am his guardian. So that he may become a Muslim. Some of them came and told Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, my son was a young boy. He said he's a Muslim, but as soon as he became independent, he ran away. Now he says he's not a Muslim. What should I do? This is the third group that the ayah speaks about. لا إكراه في الدين. Do not force them. Don't stop feeding them and taking care of them just so that you force them into converting into Islam. And the fourth group in the society that Rasulullah has created are Muslims themselves. I mean, come on, you're convinced that God is there. You hear the Quran, you love the Quran, but some people were still not fully practicing. And stories tell us that there were people from the Muslim community spying on them, going to them, sometimes hopping in their homes with a stick. If the guy is drinking, then they start whipping him. What are you doing? So one of them went to Rasulullah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I was at home last night in Medina and I was drinking in my house. And suddenly, the Sahabi of yours, he comes into my house, jumps the wall. I'm sitting in my backyard drinking and he starts whipping me. Says, you can't drink. Is this okay? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told that Sahabi, he says, this man was sinning in his privacy. That is one sin. You went into his home. First you spied on him, that's one sin. Number two, you went inside his home without permission. That's a second sin. Number three, you started beating him and physically assaulting him. And you're not the police. You're not meant to do that. So you committed 3, 4, 5 sins while he was in his home, and he could have repented and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have forgiven him. So Allah reveals this ayah, لا إكراها في الدين. Now that we know the circumstance of the ayah, now that we know it was revealed in Surah Al-Baqarah, and Surah Al-Baqarah was revealed after the Battle of Uhud, and this is the circumstance of the Muslim community, I want to introduce you to the most magnificent document in Islam after the Holy Quran. You see, we all know about the Holy Quran, right? That is the earliest Islamic document. But we have something that is amazing in Islam and many Muslims don't know about it. And that is Medina's constitution. That is the very first constitution in human history, written by Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to govern his people, to govern the people of Arabia, to govern the people of Medina. How amazing is that? And that document is preserved until today. And the world is discussing this document that dates back 1,400 years ago. Imagine. There was a constitution written by Rasulullah. And what a beautiful constitution. And you know why it's important for us to, it's got more than 56, 57 items in that social contract that bounds everyone that lived in Medina. We can't go over it as, But let's familiarize ourselves with it. A few days ago, we all witnessed that there were people praying peacefully in Masjid al-Aqsa. They were praying to God. And there was a storm of physical assault, beating them, kicking them out of the masjid. Because until today, 2023, we humans cannot live in harmony and coexistence. Because I believe I am superior to that person. And if I believe I am superior to him, then he does not deserve to live. And I will not give him freedom. Rasulullah came and changed the dynamics. And I'm not just saying that because it sounds pretty right now. This is a document that is written as a witness for Islam and as a witness for Rasulullah. So don't come and tell me that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam spread Islam by the sword and he was a barbaric person and he was intolerant. If people just open their eyes, they will see who's intolerant. I want to introduce you to the summary of the social contract that Rasulullah created for the people of Medina. Look how beautiful it is. Number one, and I want you to memorize this so that when people ask you, you as a Muslim that represent Islam, you have the ability to respond. And when you respond with facts. First and foremost, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said that we have become one ummah, one group, one nation. Who are we? Number one, the Arabs of Quraysh. Number two, the Muhajirin, the immigrants into Medina. Number three, the Ansar, the indigenous people of Medina who aided the Muslims, and they are believers. Also, now going back to what I was explaining in Surah Al-Baqarah, the Jews and the Christians that belong to the pagan tribes, they are also part of us, part of Medina. Yeah, they're not Muslim, but they're part of our society. They're a minority in our society, we'll recognize them. And number four, all the non-believers who also live in Medina. We have now become one society. So the first thing that Rasulullah did was he recognized all the minorities in Medina. Now what happens to those minorities? Number one, Rasulullah says the Muslims will protect you. It is the responsibility of the Muslims to protect everyone. Your men, your women, your children, your assets, your businesses, your caravans, your children, your women, they are under the protection of the Muslims. Not the other way around. Not that. Just think about it, brothers and sisters. Rasulullah 1,400 years ago gave protection to everyone in Medina, including non-Muslims, different ethnicities and tribes, and he made peace amongst them. Today, some Muslims do not feel peace at Muslim countries. And people watch the news, they see, they read the headlines, and they judge Islam today differently. Because we portray Islam in that way. We portray Islam in a negative light. And people now have the misconceptions about Islam. Number three, those who are not amongst the believers, it does not say Muslims there, it says believers, mu'mineen, must pay for their protection. So some people will tell you, oh, Muhammad, he was discriminated against Muslims and non-Muslims in his land. Are you serious? Rasulullah was beginning an infant state. And if he would have had Muslims and non-Muslims and Jews and Christians and pagans all in one army, you think that army would have survived? He would have really been able to protect the city of Medina, or it would have been infiltrated by all sorts of people. So Rasulullah, to really protect his society, he needed to have a real army, a dedicated army. And if you are not joining that army, you must aid the army, pay. And I tell you, people were happy to pay. If you get to stay home and not carry a sword and not be showered with arrows, you'd pay and not show up to that battlefield. Number three, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam there spoke of religious freedom. That if you do not believe in Islam, if you are not a Muslim, you may practice freely. And your houses of worship are protected, and you are protected, and no one can harass you. And that is something that America's proud of today. They speak of religious freedom and religious tolerance. But imagine 1,400 years ago in the Constitution that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam wrote. He recognized every single religion. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, whoever lives amongst us, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a non-Muslim, whether you are a Jew, whether you are a Christian, and you are part of our ummah, our community, this is very important. You are able to give visitors visa to people from outside Medina. So if somebody who's visiting Medina, they ask him, who sponsored you, who's brought you, who's your host? You say this person. And then that person is protected. Why was this important? Why? Because if this man had a problem with this man, and they found that man in a state of traveling away from home, away from his tribe, then guess what? They'll kill him. That's the Arabian Peninsula then. If they found someone who owed money to someone else, they'd kill him. If someone married another person from a different tribe and he was not treating her the way that he's supposed to treat her, the other tribe would wait for him. And soon enough they catch him and teach him a good lesson. So Medina was a free hub for people that if they're there, let's catch them and teach them a lesson, whatever the lesson may be. Rasulullah says, if a man comes and says, I am under the protection of so and so, no one can touch him. And if that person is harassed while they are in Medina, we will hold those who harassed him responsible. So people felt safe in Medina. Mecca wasn't like that. In fact, nowhere in the world was like that. Especially in the Arabian Peninsula. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was really able to create peace. Because he was a man of peace. وَإِذَا جَنَحُوا لِلسِّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. If there is an opportunity to create peace, Ya Rasulullah, make sure that you take that opportunity and you seize that opportunity. وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And more importantly, last one that I want to cover tonight, is that Rasulullah said any of the tribes. Some people say there was 6 tribes involved. Some people say there was more than 6 tribes involved, 7, 8. Some people have given much bigger numbers that were involved in signing this treaty. Rasulullah says, any of you guys, any of your 7, 8, 10 tribes, if you want to create peace with any other tribe, please feel free to do so. Consult us and we would add them to the agreement. And that is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, within a very short period of time, very short period of time, brothers, this did not take decades. Within 5, 6 years, Rasulullah was able to create security all around the Arabian Peninsula, which was the most dangerous place for anybody to live in, for anybody to travel in. He created peace in the entire Arabian Peninsula. And not only if you are Muslim, you're at peace. No. If you're a Muslim and you sign the peace treaty and you stick to the peace treaty, then you're protected. Now, I'll say this and conclude. When we read the Quran sometimes, we come across verses that says, and kill the pagans, kill the idol worshippers. We're like, wow. Say, Jawad today he was talking about peace and Rasulullah is making peace and everybody's feeling secure and this and that and the other. And then I read the Quran and the Quran is saying, kill all those guys. So, I mean, it's right there. And that's why some people were burning the Quran, saying that the Quran promotes killing. The Quran promotes violence. In the time Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, And now that you know all the story, I just have to add this sentence for you to understand all those verses. Listen. In the time when Rasulullah was writing this peace treaty, he said, whoever breaks the peace treaty, we will go after them. And he divided the people in the agreement to different sects. One were Ahl al-Kitab, so he wrote Ahl al-Kitab. One were Mushriks, and they were signing the peace treaty. Pagans, so he wrote Mushrikeen. And then he also wrote the believers, who were the Muslims. Now when the ayah speaks of the Mushrikeen, go after them, it's not because they are Mushrik. It's not because they're mushrik. It's not because they rejected God. It's not because they're saying, I don't want to believe in God and I still want to worship idols. Because Allah in another ayah says, Ya ayyuhal kafirun, la a'budu ma ta'budun, wa la antum abiduna ma a'bud. Lakum dinukum waliya din. As long as we can live in peace and harmony, we're good. But because the mushrikeen, this group that had signed the treaty and they put their name on it, they went and they actually attacked a tribe of the Jews. And Rasulullah came after them because those Jews were under the protection of Rasulullah and Islam. Look how Islam today is being misunderstood, subhanallah. And somehow, Islam is the intolerant religion. Somehow Islam is the religion that is a threat. Somehow Islam is a religion that cannot establish peace and offer peace to the world. And I am here to tell you, brothers and sisters, that tonight, when we take this Quran and we put this Quran above our heads in moments from now, what does this mean? Have you thought about this? What does this mean? This means that this Quran is the most important thing in my life, and I will put it above my head. And I will honor it. And I'll make sure that my life is dictated by this holy book. But as soon as Laylatul Qadr is done, this book goes on the shelf again for the next year. And we don't care about the Quran. Today we have a responsibility to spread the teachings of this Quran to the entire world. And the world is ready for it. The world is ready to hear what the Quran has to offer. But before we do that, we have to learn the Quran. We have to love the Quran. We have to educate ourselves with the Quran. And we truly have to make this book the guide within our life. And we have to make time for it. And it takes dedication. So tonight, say, Ya Allah, you know the truth. I haven't really spent too much time with the Quran. I haven't really read the Quran. But you're much more merciful than that. Ya Rabb, oh Allah, your rahmah is so much bigger than my shortcomings and my sins that it will encompass us all. It will include us all. But offer your rahmah to me tonight. I will put this book above my head and I will allow it to be above my head for the rest of my life. And I will allow it to determine my life for the rest, determine how I live my life for the rest of my life. That is going to be your achievement tonight. And I know if we started late and I've taken too much of your time, I want to say one thing to you, brothers and sisters. And inshallah, we will see you tomorrow, Friday. And also on Saturday, we'll be here with you, inshallah. And we'll see you all. Tonight, after you do your a'mal and you do your, jawshan, inshallah, and masraf al-masahif. And like I said yesterday, it's okay to be tired. It's fine. So I'm going to be tired. Well, it's okay. It's completely fine for us to be tired on a night like this. We're meant to be tired, so we show Allah that we're dedicated to Him. When you go home, before you sleep, whenever that is, visit yourself. What does that mean, you visit yourself? When you get guests, a friend comes and visits you, you sit with them, you say, how have you been? How is work? How is life? Who's treating you well? Who's mistreating you? And the friend shares things with you. Tonight, visit yourself. Become the guest of your own selves. Say to yourself, okay, it's been how long since I visited with you? Maybe for some it's a long time. Maybe it's the first time in their life that this will happen. What's troubling you? Who's hurt you? Who do you miss? Who do you love? What are your priorities? How is life? And make peace with yourself. Tonight is a night, like Sheikh said, for us to make peace. Make peace with yourself. You don't need to hate yourself. You don't need to unfriend yourself. You don't need to be tough on yourself. You need to find yourself. And in order for you to do that, you need to talk to yourself. And you really need to be extremely honest in that conversation. Because, you can say things differently to others, to friends, to parents, to your spouse, but how are you going to cheat yourself? Really, how? Some people do. Some people do. Ask yourself, who's hurt you the most this year? And don't lie to yourself about it. Be honest. Who's hurt you the most this year? And then when you know who that person is, make the right decisions. Does that person stay? Does that person go? If that person needs to go, don't be a coward. That person needs to go. Who's made you happy? Take care of those people in your life. Who really loves you? Ask yourself. Think. Take some time. Think of all the stories, occurrences, what you were in need, who left you, who was there for you, who gave you honest advice. At the time you were hurt, but then you realize, wow, this person really is honest with me because they want the best for me. And reconcile with yourself. And I want to talk about that tomorrow. A deep conversation that sometimes we'll sit there and in that conversation we will cry. Because we speak to so many people. And I tell you, before you go and you speak to a psychologist and a psychiatrist and your friend and you're this and you're that and the other, have that conversation with yourself tonight. And then offer that conversation to Allah. Say, Ya Allah, those are the results of my conversations and my findings. And I offer them to you. And I want you to take care of me in the next year. Start that journey with yourself and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And next year on the 23rd of Ramadan, you will see its fruits. And I also want to tell you, brothers and sisters, you cannot cheat the system. If I'm only showing up on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of Muharram, 23rd of Ramadan, it's as if I go, and I want you to pay attention to this, and it doesn't mean that you have to be here or you're in another masjid or this and that. If that's what you like to do, if you are here and you feel benefit, then that's good. But that's not what I'm trying to, what I'm trying to say is much bigger than that, okay? It's bigger than physical locations. Those physical locations are important. What do I mean? That's like somebody who is going through a test. You're taking, for example, biology or chemistry or calculus, and then you just show up 3 times out of the whole semester and you want to pass this class? And you somehow think, oh, it's a passing grade? It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. When Allah only is in your life 10 years, 10 days, 5 nights out of the year, it's not going to be easy, brothers and sisters. So make sure that you are that student that is sitting front row, that is taking all the notes, and I don't mean this literally, I mean this literally and metaphorically in your mind, and you're going for that A, and you're not going to settle for a passing grade. And tonight is the night where we converse with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we confess our shortcomings to Him. Say, look, we've done all those bad things, and you know them. Tonight we want you to cleanse us, and we also want you to protect us so that we do not go back to the same report card that we're offering to you and to the Imam of our time this evening. We say to him, Ilahi, al-af, al-af. We are sorry. And we truly mean it. And when we sinned, Ya Allah, we didn't sin because we undermine your authority. It's because we had so much hope that you conceal and you forgive. That we are just ignorant and we just fell into the traps of shaitan. And our nafs took over us and we didn't know what we were doing. فَالْآنْ مِنْ عَذَابِكَ مَنْ يُخَلِّصُنِي. But now I'm in trouble. Now I'm addicted to this sin. Now I have so many sins and I have compiled them. What do? Do I run away from you? But where do I go? There is no farar. وَلَا فِرَارَ مِنْ حُكُومَتِكَ. I cannot run away from your kingdom. Wherever I run, I'm going to be in your kingdom. Therefore, I run away from you back to you. And when I run back to you, I run back to you as a person full of regret, broken. And I want you to embrace me, and Allah will. Let us raise our hands to the Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will recite the a'mal of Raf' al-Masahaf very shortly now. And make sure that you pray for everyone. Do not be selfish in your dua. But now I want you to feel what's going to happen soon. So we say, Allahumma inni as'aluka bikitabika al-munzal. Oh Allah, I ask you in this book. وَبِحَقِّ مَنْ مَدَحْتَهُ فِيهِ. And all those righteous, pious, noble individuals that you have praised in this book. وَبِحَقِّكَ عَلَيْهِمْ. And how dear they are to you. And I ask you in your grand name, in your most beautiful name, in your name of power, in your name of authority. بِكَ يَا اللَّهُ 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 فَإِلَيْكَ يَا رَبِّي نصبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تقطع من فضلك أملي ورجائي يا سريع الرضا. What does سريع الرضا mean? Allah will buy any excuse you give Him, even if you know it's a fake excuse, even if you don't believe and take your own excuse seriously, Allah will say, I'll take it, it's okay. Ya Sari' al-Radha, He's so quick to forgive, He's so quick to say, we're fine, we're okay, don't worry about it. اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء. Ya Allah, what do I have besides my prayers and my dua to you? يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاحه البكاء يا سابغ النعم يا دافع النقام يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنا أهله وافعل بما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بما أنا أهله. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات والعلماء والشهداء وخدمة الحسين. Brothers and sisters, I sincerely apologize to you for the delay today. Inshallah, tomorrow we will start on time and finish inshallah by 11, and we shall see you tomorrow. We ask for your dua. Let us send the thawab of this majlis and everything that we're about to do for the soul of those who await us, our fathers, our mothers, those who have passed away, those who are waiting now for the gifts to go to them. And let's send them good gifts, beautiful gifts, The gifts will come to them. Let me just tell you this. The hadith says that when you do something good, especially for your parents, just like the Amazon package receives delivered to your home, the malaika come in a beautiful clothing and they visit the dead, and he says, what's going on? They say, we have this gift for you, and they offer the gift. And the deceased person, he's so happy, he's so joyful, and then his grave is illuminated. So do not forget them. Keep sending them good gifts, beautiful gifts. Do not forget them, especially on a night like tonight. وَإِلَى أَرْوَاحِ